y'all, I just wanted to make a quick video to provide maybe a little look inside of some of the other groups and some of the personas that I thought worked really well from a few weeks ago. As we go into the final project number 3 presentation package, now would be a good time to revisit anything that you've submitted where you got great peer feedback from, or maybe you've learned some things along the way as you've conducted your interviews that you'd want to go back and fix as we go into the final project number 3 package. So personas being kind of the most visual, the biggest milestone that y'all have completed as a part of the presentation package so far. I thought it'd just be good to highlight some of the things that I thought worked well from a few different projects that a few different personas that were submitted as a part of this project number 3. And so I've got 4 of them here. I'll just highlight some things that I thought worked well. And again, maybe you can take inspiration if you're thinking about, how you could update perhaps your personas. I gave some feedback, your peers gave some feedback. And so if there are areas for improvement or updates, just want to provide some extra inspiration and a look into maybe some of the other groups if these individuals are outside of the group that you're currently in. So I think this is Anson's project here. I'm not quite sure what the name of his app is, but I can tell just by looking at the information here that he's probably doing the travel/tourism app that's geared towards camping or maybe the outdoors and trying to find a spot that's good for maybe a weekend getaway. One of the things that I really like about both of these examples here, his 2 personas are James here and Rudy, is that it's a really simple layout, immediately drawn to the left here with the photos and kind of the treatment in the background with the colors. But the things that I really like about this persona are the extra adjectives that he threw in there. Determined, adventurous, and patient. And if you read through the rest of this persona, you can see that James is a troop leader, a scout troop leader, and so you would have to be adventurous and definitely patient for sure. And so I love in both of these examples that we've got some adjectives to help us maybe understand who these individuals are a little bit more. We've also got a really great, primary and secondary persona with varying age groups and gaps here. And so that's important to maybe define all the audience types that you might have or that you would think would be kind of your key core audience. And so I think these are vast enough and different enough that there are going to be different unique needs for each of these individuals or audience types within the application itself. The other thing that I like about this is just this little addition of the frequently used apps. And so I know that Rudy is active on Facebook and uses Gmail a lot. Some other things that I think is really interesting as I looked at the differences between these two is, this is perhaps an older gentleman who enjoys listening to the radio. Now that stuck out to me because I would anticipate that would be the case, that it probably wouldn't be on Spotify or iHeartRadio or something like that. That probably would be more traditional in listening to the radio and trying to find his favorite station there. And so, how that plays into the app, I don't know. Maybe there's a recommended radio, feature within this app for those who are camping out in the woods. And then on James's side here, again, Facebook, Chrome, and Amazon, and just subtle things visually that I thought worked well. Just changing these icon colors to match kind of the primary kind of color here in each case was kind of interesting to me. And in James's case, it's listening to podcasts. So definitely a different demographic here, a different age group, and so probably a little bit more geared towards this demographic here as well. So just wanted to highlight some of the work that Anson did in his personas here. Again, the things I thought were interesting were including the adjectives for us to kind of get a sense of who these people are, and then also some of the extra add-ons like the frequently used apps and the hobbies as well. Just helps get us in the mindset of who our users might be for this product. All right, let's jump into the next example I have here. So I think this is Miracle's example. I believe, again, this is a travel and tourism app. The things that I like about, again, this example is the strong use of these warm, welcoming photos here on the left-hand side. But there are a few other things too. The pool quote here is just really a really nice kind of look into maybe something that this individual has said as it relates to the app. So Brandon had said, I loved to travel a lot. I just wish it was easier to plan a trip quick and easy. And so if I think about the app that Miracle is going to end up doing in project number 4, the goal should be to make this as easy as possible to plan a trip just as easy and as quickly as possible. There's some other things that I like about this example here. We get a good idea of who this person is. He's 25 years old, single, lives in California. Got an income range here, which is nice. And I like this personality slider here. I like that we've got kind of what ends of the spectrum this person might fall in introvert versus extrovert, organized, disorganized. And you can kind of get a sense of who this individual is, who Brandon is, based off of these sliders. And so I can tell that he's probably an outgoing, adventurous person who probably has a lot of notes or sticky notes, or is a little more disorganized than most, and really active. And compare that to perhaps the secondary persona, Christina, who's always wanted to travel the world and discover new things, but she doesn't know where to start. And so in the app, maybe recommended tourism spots or recommended travels would be something that she could be interested in. And again, this personality persona gives us a look into who Christina is. She's introverted. She's kind of in the middle, cautious versus curious. Maybe she's curious in circumstances where she's surrounded by friends, but she's a little bit more cautious when she's by herself. Again, just thinking out loud here. More on the organized side of the scale as opposed to Brandon. And a little bit active, but not too much. So again, it just gives us a snapshot into the life of this individual. And again, I like some of the peripheral things that are added here around the frustrations and the goals. But again, really high quality photos, beautiful photography, kind of paints us a picture of who these people might be, and married that with the quote and also the personality slider, I think is just a really nice touch here by Miracle. Let's jump into our third example here. So I think this is Macy's, and I think this is one of the more visual or maybe creative examples that I saw from project number 3's persona. And one of the important things, and it's tough to balance this, is you don't want your some of your creative objects within the persona to distract from what the persona actually is all about. The persona is about drawing you into who these individuals are, drawing you into who the audience is. And so you don't want your visuals to distract from, or your illustrations or your supporting artwork in the background of these personas to distract from the purpose of what these actually are. And so what I appreciate about Macy's example here is that she's used some of those more creative illustrative elements to help frame the overall kind of picture of who this person is. And so here Jason is kind of, his picture is cropped by some of these circles and these overlapping shapes here, which are really nice to kind of frame in the content. And so I think this is a really well laid out, designed persona. Again, a nice kind of lifestyle photography here with Jason. And one thing too that I think was nice, and I would encourage everybody to do, is to indicate what's your primary and what's your secondary persona on these slides somewhere. And so underneath my video here, Macy's just added primary persona, just real small tag there, and secondary persona here on Nicole's. And so if you haven't done that, please go back and do that. That's helpful. On a few, I think I commented, I'm not quite sure. By default, I would assume that the first one in your PDF is your primary, but that might not always be the case. And in this example, this is the second screen here, and it's the primary persona. So that was a helpful tag. Again, I think for this one, I just wanted to highlight that this is probably the most unique creatively that I saw, one of the most. And so I wanted to just maybe draw attention to, when you go down the route of maybe designing these a little bit more, or putting a little bit more creative thought into it, it's important to not allow those elements to distract from the purpose of the persona, which again is to get us in the mindset of who these users, who the audience might be. And I think this is just a good example of using those creative elements to help frame the content, frame the photography that's included to help us build the persona and get a sense of who these individuals are. So, all right, let's jump into our last one. So I think this is Samantha's example. Well, just maybe back to Macy's. This was a music genre app. So I can see favorite music here, R&B, rock, soul. The demographics are really similar, at least in age-wise, 22 and 26. Different use cases, though. If you read through this, Jason is a barista or owns a coffee shop, and so wants to maybe craft playlists for his company or to play in the shop itself. And so that's different from this other example here of Nicole, who is a little bit more on the personal side, or curating her own content and music. All right, let's jump into Samantha's. This is another example visually that I think really works well, and it's subtle. Again, some of the treatments that she did in the background, this gradient here, and kind of how it's cropped around the top in the top left corner. I love this photo, and again on the second photo we have here cropped also. I love that it feels a part of the screen that we're looking at, and not just kind of a copy and pasted kind of plugged in photo here. So I think that little extra effort of cropping the photo out and making it feel like it's a part of this scene, this visual, played really nicely here in this persona example. So one of the things I really like here, we've got some extra elements like Anson's that help get us in the mindset of a little bit more detail of who this persona is. So in Eli's example, you can see these little tags of, he camps 3 to 6 times per year, as opposed to Becca, who's a lot more active, going on camping trips once or twice a month. And so different use cases for the app, maybe a more active user here, maybe a more passive, more recommendations based user here, maybe camping once a quarter or once a season. Again, like these sliders, one thing I might add if I was Samantha is maybe what's the kind of the endpoints here, seclusion from other campers. So likes to be alone or likes to be with others, or whatever that scale might be. I think overall, though, this is a really clean example of the persona. I think the content is balanced quite well. We have all of Eli's demographic information here on the left, as well as Becca's. And again, there's not a ton of change between these two. And so these two personas feel like a part of the same family. And so I think that's another takeaway for a few folks within the class. Is you don't want these to feel like these personas belong to two separate products. They need to feel like they're a part of the same family. I think Samantha's example here does that, and even in this case with Macy's, there are two different color treatments, but the creative and the illustrations and the overlapping shapes are in the same spot for both. So they feel like they're a part of the same family. So I just wanted to touch base on a few examples that I thought worked really well from project number 3's personas. And again, we're kind of at that spot as we go in to submit your project number 3 final presentation package, to go back and revisit some of these deliverables, go back and revisit perhaps, if there was a feedback on your interview summary guide, or on your testing script that you got feedback on, or if there are things that you learned in your interviews that would influence some of the information that you have here in your primary persona. So now would be a good time to go back and fix that, and I'd look for those updates to be made in the final project number 3 presentation package. But hopefully this was helpful to kind of jump out of your group and see some of the work across the board from different classmates within the class, within this module. And looking forward to seeing what y'all do as far as your updates go, and excited to see project number 3 come to an end. All right, thanks guys.